some of our favorite fighters in the last year or two have gotten fucked. All right, there's no getting around it. Whether you love or honestly, if you hate these guys, we've seen them at the highest of the highs, now starting to enter the lowest of the lows. And today I'm going to be breaking down for you guys some of the UFC fighters on the roster right now that need a redemption arc. All right, LL Cool J shit, you guys need a comeback. This isn't including Tony Ferguson and shit. All right, please retire, Tony. I love you, man. But we picked out a few of their fighters, one or two from each weight class, and we're going to be breaking down a tier list. If you're in the S and the A tier, then we got to help you out. We got to press Control Alt Delete. All right, we got to make people kind of forget about the past year or two, and we need to replenish the aura a bit, a lot, to be honest. If you're in B, there's a bit of urgency there, but you know, it's not like you're in a bit of peril and your career is about to be fucked up. And if you're in C and D, then you're on the more mellow side of things, but a comeback is probably needed, or a change and whatever. So just jumping into this, the main man on the thumbnail, as you guys saw, Alexander fucking Volkanovski. It hurts to even have on this list. I mean, Volk's my favorite fighter. He's literally the only one I got a fucking shirt for. I'm only staring at it right now in the closet. But he needs this, okay? The fact that everyone is laughing about, not even laughing about, just fucking heavily frowning upon the rematch with Topuria just goes to show that, like, Volk is not being taken seriously right now, and I don't blame them. The aura, it's not there with Volk anymore. And it kind of sucks, because I feel like he's still kind of trying to be, but it's just like, when you're trying to fight the guy next that you already know knocked you out in 2 rounds, and you're getting on the older side of things, and you know, when you're past 35 in the lighter weight classes, you're notoriously known for fucking losing, and it hurts. I heard that I even have to say this because you know how badly I want to see Volk as champ? Bad, bro. But I don't want to let my emotions get the better of me. I'm not trying to twist this up. Volk's got a serious chance, man. People forget. Like, I'm not even going to start with that bullshit on y'all. Volk, we're going to put him in the A tier because it's not like he's already the featherweight GOAT, all right? I mean, the only one that can really surpass him as of right now is Topuria. You know, give this guy the next couple years and, like, maybe he can, you know, surpass Volk. But as of right now, Volk's the featherweight GOAT. So he's not an S because he does have his legacy, because Volk, even now, he's still in the top 5, top 7 best fighters of all time. So it's like, but he is an A because, like, we gotta build up Volk a bit more, you know what I mean? Because you know the UFC is clearly making Topuria and him next. I mean, but we want to see him fight somebody like Lopez. I mean, even the winner of Movsar Evloev and Aljamain Sterling, I mean, that's somebody who is, you're not gonna have the knockout threat. You know, let's hype him up a bit more, build up the steam on the fucking engine before we throw him at Topuria again. I know that's not what's gonna happen, but I love you, Volk. Good luck, buddy. All right, up next, here's the fucking thing, you guys. Don't you dare put me in the A tier. I will go to war for you people. We got Sean Strickland, who's probably extra happy because Trump won the fucking election this morning. I saw, so this guy's on cloud 9. But we're gonna put Strickland in the C tier, okay? Why is Strickland on this list? You know, he's still active, and I know he just lost the belt to DDP, but he won a fight right after that against Costa, the fight of all time. And it's just like, so why is he on this list? I think the problem with Strickland right now, why he's on this list, I don't like the attitude change, dude. But this guy, I feel like he sold out a bit when he really won the belt, because he went from, I'll fucking fight anywhere, anytime, I don't give a shit, don't even let me see the contract, to now it's like, it's just like he's very picky choosy, and I don't blame him necessarily, because, like, you know, I feel like 80-90% of people thought he won against DDP in January. So it is hard to deny him. I'm not saying he's not worthy of the rematch. We're going to get him versus DDP, and I think it's totally deserved. The fight against Chimaev versus DDP excites me more, you know, but I know Chimaev is kind of inactive as it is, so he's going to get his shot eventually. Strickland is next, and I feel like that's totally deserving. But I will say, though, that I just don't fuck with this whole, like, attitude change. He went from being the guy that could step in any time and the guy that wants to fight anyone. He doesn't give a fuck about the belt. When he won the belt, he said he didn't give a shit about the belt. And now, all of a sudden, ever since he lost it, it's like he's a bit of a prize fighter. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, all right? You got to provide for yourself, got to provide for your family, all right? He got a bit of those pay-per-view points. I'm not blaming him. But it's just, I'm missing the Sean of old a bit. I'm happy for him that he's fucking being all, you know, he's successful right now. He's on top of the world. Good for you. I love it. USA. But I just miss the Sean that just didn't give a fuck. The one that made him so popular in the first place, and like the one that, you know, that's how he made it so far. I just said that twice, but still. If he loses against DDP, that doesn't just make him washed. What I do want to see from Strickland, though, I need to see more activity, more of the urge to just fucking get after it. Not as much of all this prize fighter shit. Up next, we got Mario Bautista. I don't even know what to say about this motherfucker, bro. All right? We're going to put Bautista, you're going in the S tier, pal. And you know where else he's going? Right back to the Apex feature bouts, all right? This guy ain't getting shit. Before the Aldo fight, was he the most exciting fighter? No. Now, he had a good win streak going, and like hidden in there were some good performances or some good fights. Don't get me wrong. Deserving of being in the top 15 for sure. But I didn't think he had like that rep of like a boring fighter or just playing around like a pussy in there. But then he fought Aldo, the biggest opportunity of his life. You're getting, you know, the featured bout of a Pereira pay-per-view. You have eyes on you, and you're saying you're going going to make this guy bleed and you're going to go to war, sounding like Strickland's head ass right before. And then you get in there and you do nothing. You absolutely wasted. What was it, 10 takedowns that Aldo shut all 10 of them down, and he just wasted that entire third round, acting like he just fucking, oh my God. It was like that Jake Paul when he knocked out Ben Askren. There's fireworks going out and shit, and you're just like, go fuck yourself. I don't know. I feel like he's literally just one of the most, just the most disliked people on the roster right now. He needs a complete reboot. I mean, I don't know who they're going to match him up against. I mean, maybe it's somebody unranked. I'm not even fucking playing. Maybe it's someone around that 13 to 15 range. Maybe he gets somebody in the top 5. Maybe he gets a Song Yadong. Like, I don't know what they're going to do with him. I'm sure they were not fucking happy with it, sitting front row and seeing all that shit, thinking in their heads, why did we do this? Why did we give Aldo back-to-back prospects? And it came out great the first time, but then second time, I mean, you know, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. I don't know how the saying goes. But this guy needs to go out there no matter who it's against, and he needs to get the fuck after, right? Put on the volume, the pace, the pressure. Put on a flashy performance. Even if it's not a flashy knockout or a sub or whatever, I mean, show that you can get the fuck after it. Show why you're deserving of being in that top 15. I mean, he lost that fight. You should not be rewarded a win for the round, that third round, for doing nothing, all right? Bautista was the one who really got shut down that round. He was getting shut down. He was forced to do nothing against Aldo. I mean, all right, ref separates him, and then he goes right back to it, dude. I want to throw something. I don't have anything to fucking throw. One of the most annoying fights to watch in recent memory, man. Again, this guy, like, he's a good fighter. He has a lot of potential. Probably a good dude, but he just needs a complete reboot. He's got to go refresh himself out there. So he belongs in the S tier. Up next, Sergei Pavlovich, the former boogeyman of the heavyweight division. Now, we're going to put this guy in the B tier because there's a bit of urgency. All right, we kind of need to get him back on track, but also he's only lost his last 2 fights. So it's not like his career is just completely fucked. I mean, the guy was on a 6-fight win streak, all by knockout in the first round, right before the Tom Aspinall fight. And I feel like most fans, the betting odds were close against Aspinall, but I feel like most fans kind of thought Pavlovich was going to win, but Aspinall took him, and Aspinall is the fucking pretty much the best heavyweight on the planet right now. So, and then the loss to Volkov, I mean, Volkov really just showed his experience in there. I mean, he kept his distance and he pieced him up, and he fucking frustrated the hell out of Pavlovich. And I think Pavlovich was going in that fight just expecting another round 1 KO, but after you lose, man, you kind of learn a lot, and you got to go through all that adversity. And it seemed like Pavlovich just like thought Volkov was just gonna stand still for him, because he was saying afterwards, like, he didn't fight like a man in there. Dog, but he beat you. Like, you just wanted to, like, I don't know. So, making excuses like that, I don't know. I don't think 2 losses in a row, especially one of them being a title fight, is, like, that big of a deal. But when is Sergei fighting again? I think he's fighting in February against Rosenstruck. And I honestly think, I'm not just saying this just because we're talking about this guy in the tier list. Like, I think Rosenstruck is going to beat Pavlovich in that fight. He could frustrate Pavlovich as well, but if Pavlovich goes out there, and, I mean, anyway, if Pavlovich wins, I mean, I feel like it's going to be putting him back on the map. But you can't just beat Rosenstruck. You kind of got to rise up again if you're going to keep like that top 3 spot. So Pavlovich, he's totally not out of it. He's not that old. And with a couple more wins, he could totally be back in the title picture. Up next is another one that just pisses me off, dude. We're doing Colby Covington. We're going to put Covington in the S tier. This guy has just completely killed any stock rising or momentum that he had. He's just inactive, and he just doesn't fight. And it's just like this whole picky and choosy shit. All right, who was I talking about earlier? Strickland with like picking and choosing opponents. He's nothing compared to what Covington does, dog. Covington just sits there right now, and he's fucking, what was that thing he did with Gary? Like the 3 stipulations and all that shit. That was mental. Like, just say you don't want to fight the guy. It's fine. You want to be picky and choosy about who you want to fight, but like, you just the extent of how much he's just trying to prove to the world that he doesn't give a shit about wanting to step in there and actually fight. I mean, his last performance against Edwards was just straight up embarrassing. He didn't do anything. For someone who's known, Covington was known for really putting on the pressure on people in the pace and trying to get you fucking out of there and overwhelming you, and he didn't do any of that until the last 4 minutes against Edwards. That was December 2023, so he didn't fight all of this fucking year. Why? I don't know. Why? I don't know. There's no reason. He's just not fighting. He's just holding on to that top 4 or 5 spot, feeling entitled as fuck as long as he can. I got his record right in front of me. I literally couldn't fucking remember it because that's how much this guy doesn't fight. He got a win over Masvidal in March of 22. He lost to Usman the second time, November of 2021. Beat Tyron Woodley. That 5th round finish, 2020. COVID was fresh as fuck, dog. Covington was fucking that was the last time Covington was kind of active when the pandemic hit. Just want to summarize that shit, all right? We're talking about how long ago when McGregor got a win or Stipe fought. That's when Kobe was really like relevant. Ever since then, he's just been falling off. I shouldn't say that he hasn't been relevant because look, I'm fucking talking about him and like, look, he got a fight against Edwards and like he definitely is a draw. And he's not a bad fighter, all right? I actually think like he's dodging Ian Gary so bad, but he's actually a good matchup against Gary. And I feel like if he went out there, even if he beat Gary in any kind of way, it immediately puts him back on the map because Gary is one of like, you know, the rising undefeated prospects in welterweight in a division full of or not just undefeated, but just prospects on the rise in general. They're full of them right now. The inactivity isn't making him look any better. I mean, look how slow he looked and had a hard time getting into his rhythm and his groove and just really controlling the cage against Edwards. That's because of the inactivity and the ring rust. Is that going to get any better when you don't fight all of 2024 and you're clinging on to that fucking top 5 spot? I get so pissed about this one. I'm sorry. Kobe, in my opinion, is just the most frustrating fighter on the roster. The inactivity and just the entitlement is ridiculous. He's going in the S tier. I mean, I don't even know who or when this guy's going to fight in 2025, but he's got to fight against somebody, and he needs a win tremendously. I'm sorry. I'm out of breath. All right, moving on. We got Henry Cejudo. Okay. Henry we're going to put in the A tier because kind of like Volk, he'll always have his legacy. You know, Henry is one of the best flyweights of all time, former double champ. I got to respect it. Top 30 fighter of all time, top 25, 20, even 15, whatever the fuck you guys want to say. But he's got a great legacy. But the problem is he got fucked in his last 2 fights. I mean, not really though. I shouldn't just say that so lightly because the fight against Aljamain was relatively close. I thought Sterling had it, but it was still a close fight. It was competitive, and that was after like the 3-year layoff. And then the fight against Merab, I mean, the first round was competitive, and the rest of that fight, Merab did kind of dog him, and I feel like that, I mean, the iconic picture of Merab picking up Cejudo with his tongue out right in front of Zuckerberg, I mean, doing that to an Olympic gold medalist, I bet it hurt his pride a bit, because I know Cejudo going into that fight against Merab said win or lose that he's going to retire, and he changed his mind. I think he just didn't want to go out like that. And I don't blame him. He's a competitor, but it makes it all the more frustrating that this guy retired at his peak. You know, the timeline, it's like that Doctor Strange shit where he's twitching all out, looking at all the different universes and shit. Like, there's one of those timelines where Cejudo didn't retire and he went out like with even more wins. Or maybe he lost a bunch. We don't know. It's just such a shame that this guy left on top because he had so much potential. He was on cloud 9 too, but just ego got the better of him, wanted a bit too much money. And UFC don't give a fuck, boy. All right, you must be this tall to ride, okay? But Cejudo has to get after it, all right? I mean, the cringe shtick, whatever, do your thing. But in terms of, like, getting in there in the cage, he needs a win against a Cheeto Vera, a Song Yadong, like somebody. You don't have to keep fighting, like, the top 5. I actually think the fight against Corey Sandhagen, I think that would be a great matchup to make next. He needs something, though. So, moving on, we have Jamahal Hill. Jamahal Hill, we're going to be putting in the B tier. I feel like Jamahal, 2 years ago, I feel like nobody really minded him. I mean, he was just kind of rising the ranks. And, yeah, there were some people that liked him or didn't like him. But I feel like he was just not as hated as he is right now. I get it. He's one of the most, he's just unlikable, and he's one of the saltiest fighters, if not the most, in the UFC. He's always just got some shit to talk. I remember hearing about a time or seeing it, whatever, where like a fan was literally saying that he's humble, and he got offended about it and started yelling at the fan or whatever the fuck, or going after him. I'm paraphrasing that, don't get me wrong, but it's just like, he's a former champ, which is honestly kind of crazy to say, as each month goes by, you're like, holy shit, Jamahal Hill was champ, but he had a great performance against Teixeira. I mean, his only real big loss before that was Paul Craig. He could hold his own on the feet, he's a real solid striker, and he has power behind those hands, but it's just a shame that, like, got to fight Pereira. I mean, it was kind of like, I feel like a lot of people thought Pereira was going to win, but it wasn't like people were just counting out Hill. I mean, the odds were literally like it was close to a pick'em fight, but Hill went in there and he got smoked in the first round, and it just aged so poorly for him because then he started talking shit kind of halfway through the build up to the fight, and it just kind of like, yeah, everything kind of came at a bad time for Hill. This guy needs there's a bit of urgency here. He's in the B tier. Yeah, he has some good wins on his record, but we kind of got to get the ball rolling a bit. He needs a win over somebody like a Jiri Prochazka, a Volkan Ozdemir, a Carlos Olberg, Khalil Roundtree. Like, give him some of these guys that are in the top 10 that can keep him relevant. Up next, we're going to be putting Tai Tuivasa. Oh, here we go, dude. You're going in the S tier, all right? Because this guy is the only fighter on this list. Yeah, thank God I didn't include Tony Ferguson for sure now, but he's the only fighter on this list that's literally one fight away from just being cut from the UFC, all right? This guy is 0-5 in his last 5. All right, and keep in mind, before that, he was one fight away from a title shot against John Jones. The John Jones 3 or 4 year layoff return. All right, we almost got Ngannou versus Jones. No, we almost got Tuivasa versus Jones. That's fucking insane. I don't even know what to say about Tai. I just feel bad, man. All right, he was so likable, and he was just getting such good, crazy knockouts, and he was going on a good streak. He was really becoming a fan favorite, and he still is one, but just the aura is gone. All right, all the energy and the hype, there is no more hype. All right, it's just gone at this point. I mean, I just don't even know who you give this guy. It's got to be somebody like outside the rankings, because anybody in the top 15, even the blobbiest of blobs, I feel like they're beating him at this point. And he went into that last fight against Rosenstruck, who's one of the most technical fighters in the heavyweight division. That's his fucking thing. And then he tried to go out there and outdo him in the distance. Like, I thought Tuivasa was going to win that fight, and I knew it should have been a red flag when he was fucking going around saying that he was training for 3 rounds and he was trying to go outdo the distance with Rosenstruck. You can't do that against somebody like Rosenstruck. And so, like, that was the fight I feel like he needed more than ever to try and go out there and just fucking bam him out of the first round. But we didn't get that. No shoeys. There's no more shoeys. I mean, you know how they say, like, you never know when it's going to be your last blank. You never know when it's going to be your last shoey. All right, that could have been years ago. We might never get one again. I mean, I don't know who you give this guy. It's got to be somebody outside the rankings. Scared if you give him. I mean, if you give him a prospect, he's gonna get fucked up. If you give him a blob, he's gonna get munched on or sat on. Pause. And you can't give him someone in the top 10 because he's gonna get knocked out or just fucking pointed up or pieced up for 3 rounds. Tuivasa, it hurts in the S tier. I don't see it getting any better, but he's in dire need of something. So, Jiri Prochazka up next. So, we're going to be putting him in the C tier. I feel like there's not a lot of urgency. Like, his career, man, we got to bounce back. We got to really get him going for the comeback and redemption. But he does need a bit of it, all right? That second loss to Prochazka, it hurt. I mean, the win against Rakic before, one of the best fights of the year, one of the best performances, knockouts, whatever they want to fucking call it, of the year. I mean, it was great, and Rakic is a real legit name. And before the first, Pereira loss, just went out there and was an absolute machine for his first 3 fights in the UFC. It's crazy to even consider the fact that Prochazka's only been in the UFC for 6 fights. It feels like he's been around here forever, but I just think that goes to show how much, like, he's impacted not only the light heavyweight division, but also just the fans. But he does need something. I know he was talking about a move to middleweight. I don't know if that's the greatest idea. I definitely think there's a lot of fun and favorable matchups for him down there. But I don't know if the weight cut's going to be too much. I think that might affect his chin a bit. I kind of like Jiri at 205. And I say give him a Khalil Roundtree or Jamahal Hill. You can give him the winner of Ozdemir and Ozdemir and Oldberg. That's going like on. Holy shit, that's in 2 weeks. Yeah, you can give him the winner of that, you know? But I know Jiri wants to kind of come back early next year. But there are matchups out there for him. I just think he needs something. I'm not saying his aura is just all gone. I'm not saying all the hype is just gone, because Jiri he could still be a champ. There's very high odds that Pereira is going to be retiring before Jiri does. It's just natural. Pereira is almost 38 or is 38, and I don't know how Prochazka. I think Prochazka's in his early 30s, so the guy's going to be in the top 5 of the division for a long time, in my opinion, and that's why he's not in like S, A, or B. But he does need to kind of get the hype back a bit. I don't think we're going to be seeing Jiri fight for a belt for the next couple years. So up next, we have Steve Erceg. Now, Steve, I'm sorry I gotta put you on this list, man, alright? The guy that arguably beat Pantoja. I'm doing this for the Kiwis, for the Aussies, you know what I mean? I'm still in this, you know what I mean? I can still be the world champ. Thank you, Steve. So we're gonna be needing a comeback from Steve Erceg. He still is one of the best prospects in the flyweight division right now, and he's only lost his last 2. He had kind of a good little win streak going on before that, so he's not completely out of it, but got fucked up by Carr in that first round, and that concerns me. I'm getting a little bit of, like, sometimes in situations, the most notably like Dominic Reyes versus John Jones, there's fighters that take the champ to a really close decision, or arguably they win it, and then everyone's like, oh dude, the future's gonna be bright for this guy, and then they just go on some massive fucking losing streak. And it's just like, sometimes it's not even against the champ, it's against like a number 1 contender fighter, something high stakes, and I don't want to see Steve Erceg become that. Now, thankfully, he's a flyweight. I feel like a lot with the normal tropes, you have to kind of add an asterisk to it with flyweight. It's kind of its own little fucking bubble. But there's a lot of winnable matchups for Erceg in the top 15. But Erceg is still in it. He's young. He really grew. He really put himself on the map at UFC 301. Yeah, he put himself on the map at UFC 301. Really gained a lot of fans. Rose his stock. He's a great striker. Definitely one of the best in the division. He's precise. He's good on the ground. Primarily not his style, no. But you know what I'm saying? Like, he could be well-rounded. And it's just, he has a lot of potential still, but I just don't want to see it become one of those situations where he just starts going on some random losing skid. Now, I think Cara France is elite, especially for the flyweight division, so there's not a shame in losing him. And Pantoja has really beaten almost everyone in the top 10, so especially no shame. He probably gave Pantoja arguably his toughest title challenge, you know what I'm saying? There's still a future for him. I'm just hoping we just don't see Erceg keep going downhill. I know, maybe May to August, it's not the quickest turnaround, but maybe it was too quick for him. I don't know. But he's definitely not out of it. So moving on to our last one. Jesus Christ. Last one, we have Kamaru Usman. Now, Usman we're going to be putting in the B tier. I just can't believe that Usman didn't fight this year. I'm not saying like, oh, I can't believe it. Like, how's this guy being a bum on the couch? Like, I literally just can't believe it. I didn't even really process it till now. We're really just talking about it. Like, Usman did not fight in 2024. I mean, with some guys, like, you can kind of really tell, but similar to guys like Volk and Cejudo, I mean, Usman's legacy is always going to be there. I mean, he's literally the second best welterweight of all time. I know some people in Dana White can say that he's the best, but in my opinion, he's the second best, and I don't think there's any shame in that. I mean, Usman had an amazing title run. His resume as a whole is fantastic. I mean, if he loses against JDM, I feel like he literally could retire. It wouldn't really surprise me. And I want to see that fight against JDM. I mean, it's being heavily rumored to go down at the Sydney card. I would love to see it. I mean, give Usman this, you know, the Joaquin Buckley matchup, I like that, but I do like the JDM matchup more. I mean, it makes perfect sense to really prove that Usman is still in it. And that Chimaev loss is aging like fucking wine. You know he was smiling watching that shit against Whitaker because he's like, yep, I told you motherfuckers. And so, all credit to him. He's in the B tier because definitely needs another win if he wants to have title aspirations. And I feel like, honestly, if he just moved to middleweight, there'd be a lot of favorable matchups for him, and I think he would really fit the weight class, but I know he's not going to do that. So it is what it is, but yeah, we didn't get Usman in 2024. He's on the B tier, so this is going to be the tier list. Thank you guys so very much for watching. We just hit 200 subs the other day. I appreciate you guys so much for that. All the Smoke MMA, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Would love to hear your guys' opinions. And yeah, thank you guys so very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.